The story begins with Oscar and Lazar sneaking out of the castle together, heading towards the Azure Tower. They travel across the desert on horseback. Along the journey, Lazar continuously pleads with Oscar to turn back and return to the castle. However, Oscar is resolute in his desire to climb the Azure Tower. He believes that going back to the castle would defeat the purpose of sneaking out. Both Oscar and Lazar have their own reasons for embarking on this journey. Although Lazar is worried about the potential dangers, he refuses to leave Oscar's side and accompanies him. He cautions Oscar about the curse that befell him previously and the potential consequences of encountering the witch again. Despite Lazar's warnings, Oscar insists that he has no alternative. He reassures Lazar that if any trouble arises, he will deal with it later. Lazar expresses his fear of encountering danger along the way. He suggests that they should return to the safety of the castle in time. However, Oscar counters that he has spent the past 15 years searching for another solution without success. Therefore, feeling like he has no other choice, he continues towards the Azure Tower, home to the Witch of the Azure Moon. Legend has it that anyone who climbs the Witch's Tower and passes her trials will be granted any wish they desire. Oscar believes in this legend, but he also acknowledges that if their attempt fails, they will have to find another solution. Despite Lazar's persistent pleas for them to turn back, Oscar remains determined that he will not retreat, no matter what challenges they may face. Lazar mentions that nobody has seen the Witch of Silence for the past 15 years, and for the same period, no one has successfully reached the top of the Azure Tower, where the Witch of the Azure Moon resides. Despite this, Oscar remains steadfast in his belief that he can accomplish this feat. Lazar questions how Oscar plans to return to the castle alone if he fails to reach the top. Even though Lazar doubts Oscar's ability, Oscar remains determined and boldly opens the door to the tower. Lazar urges Oscar to be cautious as they enter. Inside the tower, Oscar is amazed by what he sees, while Lazar warns him of the dangers they might encounter. However, Lazar underestimates the challenges that Oscar will face. Ignoring Lazar's warnings, Oscar prepares to ascend the tower. He is unwavering in his resolve to reach the top and fulfill his wish to the witch. With determination, Oscar begins his ascent, paying no heed to Lazar's attempts to dissuade him. Lazar feels frightened, so Oscar advises him to wait there until sunset for safety. He promises to return before the sun sets, as he doesn't want to put Lazar in danger. However, Lazar disagrees and insists on accompanying him. As they proceed, they find themselves surrounded by snakes. Oscar reassures Lazar that the snakes are not poisonous, but this is just the beginning of their challenges. The first hurdle they face is solving a mathematical puzzle that has baffled people for over 100 years. To their surprise, Oscar quickly solves the puzzle, causing the snakes to vanish. Despite Lazar's suggestion to turn back, Oscar finds the adventure intriguing. As they continue, they encounter the next challenge. Meanwhile, one of the witches of the Azure Moon observes them from the tower with keen interest. Lazar urges Oscar to be cautious and expresses his determination to protect him from harm. Oscar reassures Lazar that he isn't in immediate danger and marvels at how far they've progressed. Lazar estimates that they should be halfway through by now. Oscar then shares that his great-grandfather was the last person known to have reached the top of the tower. Lazar confirms that indeed, it was 70 years ago when his great-grandfather successfully climbed the tower. 10 others attempted, but only his great-grandfather made it to the top. Oscar remarks that the challenges seemed manageable until now. Despite Lazar's suggestion to turn back, they proceed. Their second challenge involves facing two stone monsters that merge into one. Oscar skillfully defeats both monsters. Meanwhile, the Witch of the Azure Moon is surprised to learn that someone is breezing through the challenges. She prepares tea for the challenger but is interrupted when Oscar is mentally distressed upon witnessing Lazar falling through the floor. As Lazar encourages Oscar to continue and expresses his belief in Oscar becoming king one day, they encounter a beautiful girl who introduces herself as Tennessee. She cryptically hints that some refer to her by that name. Oscar questions if she is a witch, noting her unconventional appearance. Tennessee responds by questioning the foolishness of judging a witch by appearance. She assures Oscar that his companion is safe, easing his worries. Taking a sip of tea, Oscar asks if she used magic to change her appearance. Tennessee becomes irritated and starts questioning Oscar. He mentions hearing that she has lived for hundreds of years without any wrinkles. Tennessee explains that witches live much longer than humans and that her body has stopped aging. She acknowledges that Oscar is the first to climb the tower mostly on his own in a long time. Oscar, feeling apologetic, introduces himself as Oscar Lyeth from the creator's Law's Farces, revealing his royal lineage. Tennessee is surprised to learn that he is Farce's royalty and asks if he is a descendant of Regius. Oscar confirms that Regius is his great-grandfather, to Tennessee's astonishment. Tanasha notices the resemblance between Oscar and Regius, albeit with different personalities. She jests about Oscar's appearance, and he responds with a self-deprecating comment. Tanasha laughs and remarks on Oscar's perceived masculinity compared to Regius. Oscar inquires if Tanasha lives alone in the tower. Tanasha implies familiarity with her surroundings. Latola arrives and introduces herself, informing Oscar that his companion is under her sleeping spell. Oscar expresses gratitude, prompting Tanasha to inquire about the fate of failed challengers. She becomes angry when Oscar implies that the tower might be associated with death. Tanasha explains that she ensures no one dies in the tower. Those who fail have their memories altered and are sent to different parts of the mainland. She suggests that most challengers seek fame or validation, making it a fair consequence. Latola adds that the witch is kind to those seeking help for their children's illnesses even if they fail. Tanasha scolds Latola for sharing this information with Oscar, indicating that it was unnecessary. Oscar chuckles, finding Tanasha's demeanor intriguing. Tanasha remarks that she may appear mysterious, but it's just his perception. Oscar then asks Tanasha if she ever ventures into town, as he's heard that other witches occasionally interact with humans. Tanasha explains that she prefers not to meddle too much in human affairs and that her powers should be used responsibly, not recklessly. Upon hearing this, Oscar reflects on how he wishes the Witch of Silence had similar principles. Tanasha then questions if his reason for coming to the tower is related to his curse. Oscar reveals that he was cursed by the Witch of Silence when he was young and has been secretive about it ever since. He dedicated himself to breaking the curse, which doomed his bloodline, including any potential heirs. Tanasha inquires about the origin of the curse, but Oscar admits that his father refuses to discuss it, and he's never directly asked him. He suspects it's connected to his late mother's death. Despite his efforts to uncover clues to lift the curse, he's found nothing concrete, which is why he sought help at the tower. After hearing his story, Tanasha cautions Oscar that there's no guarantee a curse can be lifted. She explains that magic operates under specific rules, but curses defy such rules. If a curse is cast without a clear means of breaking it, even the caster might be unable to undo it in extreme cases. Surprised, Oscar questions if Tanasha can't break the curse. Tanasha confirms that indeed, she cannot, explaining that curses lack direct lethal power and can only manifest indirectly. Oscar acknowledges the potency of his curse, to which Tanasha agrees, stating it exceeds typical curses. Tanasha clarifies that what Oscar bears isn't a curse but a variant of a blessing. She touches Oscar's cheek, revealing a visible aspect of the blessing, explaining that blessings and curses are cast similarly but differ in their effects. Blessings enhance existing energy, making them potent depending on the caster's skill. The blessing on Oscar aims to protect unborn children with overwhelming force, making it impossible for a normal mother to bear. She mentions the complexity of the blessing, consisting of multiple layers intertwined, making it challenging to analyze magically. Tanasha apologizes for her inability to break the spell, but assures Oscar that she won't let him leave empty-handed. Oscar inquires if there's a solution, to which Tanasha replies affirmatively, suggesting he find a woman who can withstand the protective powers. Oscar questions the existence of such a woman, and Tanasha believes there must be a few on the mainland, selected based on magical aptitude and resistance, disregarding other factors. Oscar worries about potential obstacles like marriage, age, or youthfulness. Tanasha reassures him that if married, morally, he can't intervene, but elderly women may withstand the magic. Regarding children, he could nurture her into his ideal partner. Tanasha points out that marriages with 20-year age gaps are common among royalty, trying to uplift Oscar's spirits. Oscar falls silent, and Tanasha reassures him, mentioning she's found a potential solution. However, this time, Oscar feels disappointed, while Tanasha appears puzzled. When Oscar addresses Tanasha by her name, she becomes frightened and trembles, as nobody usually addresses her by name. Oscar reminds her that he had told her his name earlier. Tanasha apologizes and asks for clarification. Oscar then suggests an unusual idea, prompting Tanasha to agree that she can withstand the Witch of Silence's magical power. However, Oscar becomes nervous himself. He proposes that instead of searching for a possibly non-existent woman, Tanasha could fulfill his wish as the champion to leave the tower and become his wife. Tanasha vehemently rejects this idea, which upsets Oscar, but he insists he's accepted it. Tanasha becomes angry, asserting that such a wish is impossible, especially considering the repercussions of introducing witch blood into the royal family. Oscar remains unfazed, but Tanasha warns him of the consequences, threatening to erase his memory and send him back to his castle. They argue back and forth before eventually calming down and agreeing to discuss further. Tanasha remarks on Oscar's unusual insistence. In response, Oscar retorts that he could say the same thing to Tanasha. He then recalls hearing that Tanasha had stayed in Fars's castle for around 6 months, 70 years ago, where she taught magic intended to flowers, enjoying her time there. Oscar wonders if this was his great-grandfather's wish, but Tanasha clarifies that it wasn't. Oscar then proposes a deal. He will stay with Tanasha in the tower for 1 year, and in return, she will accompany him to Farsis as his protector. Tanasha agrees to his request, and Lazar, who has been unconscious, suggests they return home. Oscar instructs Lazar to go home, surprising him with his sudden decision. Oscar explains that Tanasha will stay at the castle to help him lift the curse, and they will exchange skills. Curiously, Lazar whispers to Oscar, asking if he met the witch and if she ate him alive, to which Oscar laughs. They depart for the castle, where Oscar asks Tanasha if she might change her mind halfway through. Tanasha assures him that she won't. The scene transitions to Oscar's residence within Fars's castle, where Tina Shaw enchants Oscar with a protective spell. She assures him that this spell will ward off all external attacks, whether physical or magical, as long as she remains alive. Oscar marvels at this protection, feeling like he's almost cheating. Tina Shaw explains it's the least she can do since he made a pact with a witch, though she warns him that he's still susceptible to poison and psychological attacks, urging him to stay vigilant. Oscar, considering this boon, remarks on his status as an apprentice mage. Tina Shaw reminds him that her role goes beyond mere cover, as she left her tower to lift his curse and act as his protector. Oscar admits his desire to marry her, but Tina Shaw firmly declines his proposal. The scene shifts to Lazar showing Tina Shaw around Oscar's residence. She inquires about other members of the royal bloodline, recalling some distant relatives. Lazar explains the disappearance of infants across the kingdom 15 years ago, including all the prince's cousins, leaving no younger royals. Meanwhile, mages named Cav and Sylvia are seen lighting chandeliers in the hallway. Unfortunately, Sylvia's spell misfires, causing the chandelier to fall. Tina Shaw intervenes, gently lowering it to save Sylvia. Kev credits Tina Shaw's intervention, noting that the prince brought her from the witch's tower. Later, Tina Shaw hears a commotion outside and observes knights sparring. Lazar identifies them as General Alas and Merdina. Alas emerges victorious, praised by Lazar for his skill despite his youth, though he acknowledges the prince's superior strength. Tina Shaw reflects on Oscar's ability to conquer the tower, then decides to practice swordsmanship herself. The scene shifts to Tina Shaw sparring with General Alice, effortlessly deflecting his attacks. Impressed, Alice suggests she pursue knighthood instead of magecraft. Afterward, Myrddina inquires about Tina Shaw, noting she seems more than just the prince's companion. Alice shares rumors of her being a witch's apprentice, sparking Myrddina's jealousy. Meanwhile, Latola appears before Tina Shaw, remarking on her newfound enjoyment. Tina Shaw agrees, prompting Latola to share a report. Tina Shaw then visits the prince, who notices her battle-ready appearance and questions her plans. She reveals her intention to leave for 2 to 3 days, prompting Oscar to remind her of their contract, expressing concern for her safety. Tina Shaw discloses her destination, the magical lake in Droza, where she seeks to investigate recent magical disturbances and potential plots, despite Lazar's warning about a sealed demonic beast nearby 70 years ago. Oscar expresses his intention to accompany Tina Shaw, citing Fars's jurisdiction over the area. However, Tina Shaw insists she can handle it alone, wary of attracting unnecessary attention. Oscar argues it could pose a problem if they both investigate, but Tina Shaw remains firm. Reluctantly, Oscar agrees to gather soldiers for support. Tina Shaw emphasizes she'll protect only Oscar, to which he assents. She gives him an hour to prepare. The scene shifts to the magical lake in Droza, where a man named Vault and a woman discuss their expectations. Vault believes the Witch of Azure Moon will take notice soon, as she monitors the mainland and searches for a specific person. Meanwhile, Oscar arrives with soldiers, and Sylvia notices a baby dragon on Tina Shaw's shoulder. Intrigued, she approaches Tina Shaw, but is cautioned about the dragon's temperament. Oscar arrives and questions the dragon's presence, finding Tina Shaw's plan to ride it odd. He briefs the soldiers on the survey mission, emphasizing vigilance and obedience to Tina Shaw's orders. Tina Shaw hesitates, but Oscar reassures her. They depart, and Tina Shaw reflects on the changes since her last visit to the lake. Oscar prompts them to leave, and they teleport to Anirecaps fortress bordering Droza. Afterward, they journey to the lake, where Tina Shaw recounts the events of 70 years ago. Anirecaps fortress was attacked by Droza, and despite Fars's defense, Droza unleashed a demonic beast, causing widespread destruction. The Witch of the Azure Moon sealed the beast, but its miasma poisoned the land. Oscar compares the scene to a nightmare, but Tina Shaw explains that sealing the beast was the best option at the time. She senses someone in the miasma, and an old Drizzen mage appears, recognizing Tina Shaw as the witch who sealed the beast. Surprised, the soldiers learn of Tina Shaw's past. The old man reveals he was a child when his master, beheaded by Tina Shaw, sealed the beast. Tina Shaw threatens him, but he acknowledges her superiority and warns the others to leave. He attacks them with magic, injuring 2 soldiers, but Oscar intervenes, saving the rest. The old man departs. Oscar questions Tina Shaw about her connection to the mage. She reveals he was involved in controlling the beast and likely attempted to revive it. She then heals the injured soldiers. Sylvia asks if Tina Shaw is truly a witch, and Tina Shaw confirms it, apologizing for keeping it secret. Sylvia reassures her, but Tina Shaw insists witches are feared, urging Sylvia not to feel guilty. Oscar decides they should retreat for now, planning to return with more forces later. Tina Shaw expresses her intention to pursue the mage, expecting them to hasten their efforts to undo the seal now that she's aware of their plans. She begins to leave, but Oscar insists on accompanying her. Tina Shaw acknowledges Oscar's strength, but encourages him to delegate if he wants to become king. Oscar refuses to let her shoulder the burden alone, reminding her that he brought her away from her tower for a reason. Despite Tina Shaw's protests, Oscar insists on joining her, showing his stubbornness. Tina Shaw reminds him that their contract lasts for a year and assures him she'll return as long as she remains his protector, promising not to die before him. Oscar reluctantly lets her go, and Tina Shaw mounts her dragon. Before departing, Oscar proposes marriage upon her return, but Tina Shaw dismisses the idea. The scene shifts to mages from Drizzt attempting to break the seal upon learning of the Witch of Azure Moon's presence. The old man is determined to restore power to Drizzt using the demonic beast. Tina Shaw swiftly dispatches all the mages, offering to undo the seal if that's what they desire. With her magic, she breaks the seal, releasing the beast. She instructs her dragon to stay away until the area is safe, and it complies. The beast attacks Tina Shaw, but she evades and counterattacks, to no avail. To weaken the beast, Tina Shaw places bombs on its body, causing damage, though it quickly regenerates. She then binds it with chains, determined to kill it this time. Preparing a powerful spell, the beast strikes back mid-casting, but Tina Shaw finishes the incantation, obliterating the beast. The scene shifts to Tina Shaw being brought to a Nereid fortress by the dragon, and Oscar calls for a mage upon seeing her injury. Sylvia examines Tina Shaw and finds no severe wounds, indicating she has self-healed. Oscar asks if he can visit her, and Sylvia allows it. Upon entering, Oscar notices Tina Shaw is unclothed, so he exits and returns after she's dressed. She explains she had severe organ damage but accelerated her body's growth to heal. Oscar checks if she's alright now, and Tina Shaw assures him she is, albeit a bit anemic. Oscar wonders if her appearance will revert, but Tina Shaw explains it won't as she halted her growth. He thanks her for saving them, and Tina Shaw humbly says it's the least she could do as a witch. Later, Vault and the girl collect a magic crystal from the magical lake. This brings an end to our episode. If you enjoyed it, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more anime recaps.